Hello, everyone. Hello, Mitul. Nice to see you.
Hey
Welcome,
everyone.
welcome, guys. Welcome, Mitul. 1 week is, let's say, just passed like this, and we are again live. That's
There's
good.
just so much happening right now. We have to keep talking about it.
Yes. So I'm always surprised, a week later. So, oh, already 1 week. So that fast. So it's really flying. But welcome everyone. So you are just watching the big retail talks show done with Mitul and me. And before we start, let us give you a couple of words about ourselves. So Mitul, tell me please a couple of interesting facts about yourself and then I will introduce myself.
Yeah, would love to. So Mitul, I'm the founder and CEO of Re5, and we're using data, AI, smart digital touchpoints, and all sorts of other cool things to help retailers get to know their in-store customers better and give them the same kind of personalized, special experience that they can give them online. And fact number two is when I'm not obsessing over data, AI, and retail, I love baking pizzas from scratch.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's good. That's good. Okay, I know what I will eat next time if we meet us.
Yeah, definitely.
very, very good. Mitul, thank you very much for this short introduction. I want to add something to that. As you just introduced yourself, it seems that you are coming from the customer side, let's say the customer perspective to everything what we will talk about. So basically, am I right?
I tend to like to bat for the customer, definitely. Yeah.
I think that's good because I'm coming from totally different side. I'm coming from the side of the regulations. So I
Mhm.
try to follow the laws. My name is Darko and I'm founder and CEO of the company Fiscal Solutions. And we are focusing ourselves on helping retailers and international post software vendors to become more global, easier, let's say, and to comply with all those crazy laws and rules in many different countries. So I'm coming from the perspective of hidden rules and regulations which have to be implemented. So it's very promising to have a very interesting discussion, right?
Especially on this topic, right? AI is touching customers, touching businesses, and is being regulated quite a bit. So, quite excited to talk about this with you today.
Let me give just a couple of facts about this show because I think it's also very, let's say, special kind of show because it's not a typical podcast. So there are no question and answers and these kind of things. What we want to achieve with this show is to share our opinion, let's say, about certain topics which are really interesting in the moment, which are hot in the moment somehow, either like breaking news or there are some events which are very interesting to discuss. We want to keep it short and sharp. So we don't want to discuss it hours and, although we love to talk, I love to talk, but I think it's more, just giving our views, which are two different perspectives. Let's say sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't agree, but at the end, I think it's very helpful for our audience to make own decisions and even to learn maybe some things that we already experienced in our life. So, let's talk about AI. I will do a short introduction. There are so many different things which are just happening around AI. We see lots of improvements in existing models which are used, like ChatGPT, OpenAI, and so on. But we also see lots of models which are just popping up and entering the market like a big boss and making explosions. DeepSeek is one example. Another example which is just entered the market recently with a big bang is Alibaba. So all of them are very good and all of them have their specialities, good sides, maybe less good sides, but all of them are improving unbelievable fast. This is one topic which is very hot in that area. Another topic which is also very hot are the upcoming regulations. Just in 3 days, starting with 2nd of February, there will be a new AU regulation related to the use of AI. So every company is forced to train the employees about AI. I personally think this is very good, and I think it's good to be involved and to be, let's say, informed about everything what then you can make decisions. But that rules are quite strict, and in the middle of the year, they will even apply penalties if the companies didn't follow those rules. And the third group, let's say, of the huge topics, and this is something that we will focus on today, is everything around so-called AI agents. If you take the newspaper, like for example in Germany, Lebensmittelzeitung, they just published a couple of days ago an article text about AI and agents, and they called it the thing of the year. So this means the people in our industry are expecting that 2025 will be basically focused around, in retail, of course, around AI agents, and maybe not just in retail, maybe all around and in other industries as well. So this is the topic that we want to discuss today. What is the influence of AI agents on retail? What can we expect? And maybe also to learn a little bit what are actually AI agents, because everybody is talking about that, but maybe we could simplify a little bit the explanation about that. Mitul, I know that you are very deep in this topic. I know that you are really focusing yourself and your interests around AI. Could you give us a little bit, let's say, more introduction about that topic?
Yeah, very happy to. And before I go into the details, I want to say that I don't think only 2025, but I think the whole decade ahead of us is going to be the decade of agents. So, I mean, AI means a lot of things to a lot of people. And, the most simple version of it, which is not that simple, it's very sophisticated, but the most, let's say, interactive version of it that people have experienced right now is chatbots, right? Like ChatGPT or Claude from Anthropic, where you basically have a system that you can ask questions to, you can brainstorm with, you can prompt it to create content for you, and you can do a lot of different steps with it that are almost like interacting with a smart coworker, right? When it first came out, I thought, okay, cool, this can do something that an intern can do for me, and it can do it in a very nice, clean way. Everything is formatted, the answers are perfectly grammatically correct. But as I've seen it evolve over the last, 18, 24 months, it's going a lot more beyond what an intern can do, to the level of, if you take O1 from OpenAI, even a PhD student, it's able to reason through topics with that level of detail, and it's trained on all the information in the world. So it doesn't have to go look for information most of the time. It has it in the model already, right? And then you come to this world of agents where you say, okay, I get AI. It's sort of a way to, answer questions, create content, predict things, forecast things. But what are agents? And the way I like to think of agents, if I come back to my intern analogy, is almost like you have a system that is capable of doing certain processes that you were previously doing using humans in your company, in your business, or even in your personal life. And by applying the level of intelligence to it that the new models bring, you're able to do it in a much smarter way than before, where maybe you could do the automation of certain steps, but now you can even add intelligence in those steps. So I'll give one example from my personal life of an agent that I use kind of on a weekly basis. My wife and I decided at the beginning of this year or end of last year that we wanted to make 2025 about fitness and eating better and working out. And we realized that the biggest problem with that was staying on track, right? And of course, there are thousands of apps for all of this, right? It's not a new problem. But whenever we tried using one of these apps, the problem we ran into was it required us to think in the way of the app, right? So enter your information like this, how much you've eaten, connect it to your tracker to track your footsteps, etc., etc. And we said, what if we could do this in a way where it's just a person we can talk to and tell about what we're doing, and it figures out everything else, right? And so I spent some time over the holidays building our nutrition and health agent, which basically is capable of doing a few very smart things. And I'll explain what it does, and then I'll tell you how I put this together. And so we can then connect that back to the retail world, right? Give me that short excursus.
Sure, sure. Please.
But basically, once a week, we tell it what our plan for the week is, if we're eating out, if we have any special exercise plan, like if I'm going to go play squash with a friend or something like that. And when we built it, we gave it a lot of information about our dietary preferences. We're vegetarian. My wife doesn't like certain things. I don't like certain things. And we've given all of that information to this agent, to this bot. And what it then does is, based on our schedule, we just take a screenshot of our Google Calendar, our joint Google Calendar. It figures out how many meals we'll be eating at home. The second input we give it is a picture from our fridge and a picture from our pantry. From that, it figures out which products we have at home. And then it combines this information and it creates for us directly in Notion, which is what we use for tracking all of our tasks, a shopping list for the week. It creates a menu for the week of what we need to prepare on Sunday so that we have healthy food available through the week. And it then makes a list of recommendations for exercises or activities we can do on the days where nothing is planned in order to reach our overall fitness goals, which is also an input we give it. And it loads that also into the fitness app we use, right? So it's kind of like having a very well paid, but not very well paid, because this costs us 20 euros a month on a cloud subscription. But if you had a very well paid nutritionist and private chef and sports and fitness expert all coming together, that's the effect we have from basically an agent, right? And the way we built this is very simple. We use a tool called N8N, and N8N, what it lets you do is connect different systems that you use, where you have information stored or where you do some activities together, and you can also connect into that nodes, as they're called, of artificial intelligence. So basically, the way it would work is it'll take the input, it'll read information from our shopping list, it will read information from another source, and then, as a human would, make a decision, make a recommendation, and then pass that to the next node, whose job is to put that information again into the right place where we will use it on a daily basis, right? So
Well,
that is a very simple example of an
very
agent
good
from a
example. Yeah.
personal life.
Very good example. But I will be very honest because I had a trouble. I tried to analyze AI agents because I want to implement this idea in our software because I think it's the next step. And I faced with the first problem, and I think it's important to discuss this before we go directly onto the retail and how to use it over there. The difference between typical software approach and AI agents. Because in the typical software approach, you will have a kind of, if I have this vegetable in my refrigerator, do that. So, and if I have this, do that, and then take care about that. And if I don't like it, don't do that. You understand what I mean? So there are lots of situations and tasks described in a kind of algorithm that, and with lots of options that you execute. In the case of AI agent, it's not like that, right? It's different. And this is the fundamental, I think, difference between these two worlds. So can you elaborate a little bit more about the way how something is executed and how the philosophy behind this? Because I have
Mm.
some ideas to explain it a little bit more in detail as well. I will
Yeah,
come after you.
it's a very good question, right? Because, like you said, there's two challenges classically with generative AI models. One, that's getting better and better, which is hallucination, right? Is it going to create something that is just made up in order to give you an answer? And two, the structure of the output, right? Because, like you said, a lot of classical systems, a lot of input that comes into further downstream systems needs to have a certain structure. Now, both of these problems are getting solved. Most of these algorithms now accept if you say that the output, let's say I tell it the recipe output needs to have exactly this format, it can be forced now to do that. And the second thing is around the hallucination. While that's improved, what I typically suggest when creating an agent is to add a second node after that, whose job is to check it. So now we come back to the real world a little bit, right? To the, let's say, retail, for example. Suppose I have an agent whose job is to decide what products to order for the store, right? It's not different from the way it works today. Someone in the store, ideally the store manager, will key in an order and say, okay, following items are running low on stock. based on typical local demand, we think we need to have more of product X, Y, or Z, and then we'll do an order. Typically, someone at the headquarters is then reviewing that order and sense checking it, right? So let's say the supermarket near me, for some reason, accidentally typed two extra zeros when ordering bananas. Instead of sending them 1 million bananas, they'll say, call back and say, we think there's something wrong. Are you sure you need these many bananas next week? Right. And you kind of need to do the same thing with agents, where you have one guy whose job is to come up with the answer. And then you add another node whose job is only to check, okay, I told you that I don't like eggs, tofu, and mushrooms, for example. Please check that the output of this node doesn't include any of those. And if it does, send it back into the loop to reprocess it. Right?
These possibilities which are opening with this kind of uh, software philosophy are unbelievable. Let me share with you something. I stepped in deep into the detail of the architecture of the AI agents because I wanted to create it in our solution. And I found the fundamental differences in the software architectures between typical standard software and AI agents. And I wanted to explain this today. But I
Mhm.
was asking myself how to do that, how to make it as simple as possible. So I came up with an idea, and AI helped me to create an explanatory video, or I'm not sure
Ah,
exactly what's the
cool.
word. And I searched in internet, is there any kind of AI which could help me to do that? And I found something.
Of course.
I just put it inside some keywords, and I will present to you and to people who are watching us now the very short explanation created by AI and myself, of course, about architecture and functioning wise of agents. Let me show you that. It's less than 2 minutes. It's a short video.
Man, the savvy CEO faces a challenge.
The guy is called Fiscal Man. so, so
I love the voice already.
He's heard whispers about
it's absolutely AI. So even the voice and everything. So, but it's the idea behind and the explanation is really good. Have a look.
AI agents revolutionizing software but doesn't quite grasp how. Enter the architecture of AI agents, a game changer in 3 layers. First, the AI model handles decision-making and reasoning, like a brainy sidekick. Next, extensions allow interaction with the world, making Fiscal Man feel like a tech wizard. Finally, the orchestration layer keeps everything in harmony, like a maestro conducting an AI symphony. Fiscal Man's eyes widen as he learns these agents can learn and improve, adapting like a chameleon. They're not just software, they're evolving partners, ready to tackle any challenge. Fiscal Man feels empowered, imagining the possibilities. With newfound excitement, Fiscal Man realizes this architecture isn't just about tech, it's about transforming perspectives. The potential is boundless. Fiscal Man chuckles, thinking about how easy his life will become with AI agents by his side. He can't wait to dive deeper and encourages others to explore this innovation. Curiosity piqued? Discover more about this groundbreaking architecture and see how it can revolutionize your understanding of software. Fiscal Man knows he's onto something big, and so can you.
It's good.
Fun.
It was completely created with the AI with my input. But let me give you something which is impressing me with AI agents. This is the different perspective of the software. Suddenly, there is no algorithms anymore. Now you have an assistant which is capable of thinking by himself, making decisions by himself, and then performing the tasks. And this is changing the way how we develop software, how we distribute software, how we think about software, how we pay software. So everything related to software is changing. And this is the revolution which I see. Let me take an example, deployment of the software. Usually you have a solution that you install somewhere in the cloud, locally, wherever. It's running and performing certain tasks. If you want to change something, you develop update and you deploy the update. In the case of AI agents, there is no need for updates anymore because the agent is smart. It can learn. It learns and improve itself. So no updates anymore. So this means, my friend Mitul, we will lose money because no need for maintenance anymore because the agents will run the maintenance by themselves. They will improve themselves. So this kind of swift or switch in the head, change of the perspective, this is something which I think it's a really extreme. And what do you think? Do you see this kind of changes as well?
Totally. I mean, even the so what's the value in creating software, right? If you think about it, there's if you think of a normal software, its job is to store information somehow and enforce rules effectively, right? What you said, that if this, then that, if this, then that. And those rules are created by someone doing the reasoning in advance and translating those into rules, right? But now you've taken that away because, first of all, the reason you need to keep updating software is because those rules change over time. The way you think about the problem changes over time. But if now you've taken that guy, that analyst in the beginning, whose job it was to think about how should I build a software that can be used to do stock ordering and enforce those limitations and enforce the logic and enforce the algorithm in advance, and then do an update every 2 months, 3 months, 3 weeks, whatever your release cycle is. And instead, you've said, I've defined the core logic of how stock optimization in my business should work. And I've trained an AI to do that. And now all it has to do is look at the reality, look at the facts, and based on that, make decisions and impose those decisions. You've suddenly changed the way the world works, right? Because you're not saying, I need to think about all the different scenarios and solutions before and create rules and then write those rules as code. Instead, you're saying, I need to think of what I'm trying to do as a business, right? What am I actually trying to achieve? I'm trying to achieve that my store always has enough of the products that the customers will want, not too much so that things get wasted, and that those things are there on time so that my shelves are never empty, but also that there's not too much that they're overfull, right? And that's exactly what I think agents are going to do drastically differently in areas like retail, especially, where it's not like a bank where my balance always has to be exactly correct, your balance has to be exactly correct, and the job of a banking system is to count numbers effectively. Retail, given its nature, is so fluid and dynamic. Trends are changing, weather's changing, the way people do things are changing, your floor staff is changing, right? So if your agents are able to learn when you're doing staff optimization, let's say, and decide how many people do I want in the store at what shift, it's not just looking at your historical purchase data, it's not looking only at weather, etc. It's also looking at, okay, if today Darko is on the shift, I know that there'll be actually more business happening because he's a great sales guy. So I should accordingly also put one more person on the shift in that time. Or I should make sure that the other agent who is doing the ordering for next week is ordering some more goods because tomorrow Darko is going to be selling. And then that comes to the orchestration of all of these guys. There's a world where you'll have businesses being run with agents running groups of agents, right? So there's an agent on top whose job it is to say, okay, what's the plan for a week? And then accordingly give work to each of these sub agents to do that and actually run parts or even entire businesses, right? So it sounds like a very futuristic, unrealistic thing, but I won't be surprised if in the next decade we see the first company that's completely run by agents.
To be honest, we are thinking at the moment how to apply that, and we have already some ideas. And the biggest benefit that I see, if you are like you are software development company, if you develop solution, you have to know the all options which your solution has to cover. If
Yeah.
you are developing agent, you don't need to know all options because the agent will face the challenge, let's say, and then solve the challenge because it's capable to learn and has some experiences. And this is fundamental change. So I don't need the software developers anymore because I don't need to create the options. I don't need to think about the options. I just have to think about how to create a person, AI person, which is capable of thinking in a certain way, like going to university and becoming specialist in something. That's it. After I did that, I will not need software developers anymore. I know it sounds extreme, but actually it's exactly what you are talking about. It's going in that direction. And
Absolutely.
I think the future is already there. Let's touch a little bit retail, a little bit more, because I think you have some great examples in retail, additionally, beside those that you just mentioned. You want to maybe add some on top of the related to
Yeah,
retail
for
space?
sure. So I think, we spoke a bit about store examples, right? Inventory management, about like staff scheduling and those kind of things. But I think where something like, agents can shine even stronger are in areas like purchasing. So if you think of a brand, let's take H&M, for example, right? Of course, they have their own designers, but they also do a lot of buying where basically companies that produce clothes will go to them with their designs and their products and say, would you like to buy this for your collection? Right. Now, today, the way that works is you have groups of people who are buyers. They spend a lot of time going to fashion shows, looking at other retail products, looking at what's trending on Instagram, etc., etc. So, what are they doing? They're collecting visual information that's not numerical. They're assimilating and analyzing it. And then on that basis, they're looking at other inputs and making a decision. Okay, I think these blue pants will sell really well in our store because it fits with what our customers expect. Now, let's translate that into an agent, right? You have a buying agent who's trained on all the fashion data in the world and constantly gets new input on that. They've been given an idea of, okay, we're a brand H&M. These are our values. These are our target segment. This is our price range. This is the quality we care about. And this is the kind of products our customers expect from us. And then it can even go further, and we can add another input into that and say, okay, let's feed in all of what people are saying on social media about the last collection. So it can not only know what we stand for, but it can also understand what our customers are starting to ask for more and more of, or what they're liking and disliking. And so you have this agent that's on the one hand learning constantly about you, your brand, your customers, what's happening in the inventory, put in the ERP data as well. And on the other hand, every time you're seeing a new product and you want to decide, should we be buying this? How much of it? You feed that in as well. You just upload a picture into the agent and say, okay, what do we do about this pink dress? And straight you're going to get an answer. This dress will work really well in H&M Germany, but not in Sweden. We should order 500 pieces of this and we should target a delivery by the 4th of March 2026. And so that's a whole industry that today is very human intensive. It's very dependent on, people making the right decisions on their gut feeling at the right time. And because you couldn't do it purely using data, right? Just because a pink dress sold last year, you can't sell it again this year. Fashion trends change. And that was an abstract piece of information that today you can actually absorb into an algorithm, absorb using generative AI, which wasn't formerly possible, and have an agent that's now doing the work of, which in a company like H&M are doing is being done by 2, 3, 400 people. Right? And
So
this kind of stuff is going to be groundbreakingly different for retail going forward.
this is really, really powerful. So I'm totally sure. But we extended the time again. So
Tell me something new.
let's answer just the question with yes or no. And then we finish for today. Are AI agents about to change retail forever? Yes or no?
You know my answer, so maybe you can go first today.
I have a clear answer. Yes. And not only retail, they will change the software industry. We already started to change ourselves because we want to implement them because we know that they will be very common in the world because the problems that we have to solve are now easier to solve with the agents than with our smart people which cannot know all the options which are needed to implement good software. So that's why my big yes as answer to this question and all other industries as well. What do you think? Do you agree?
Another week that we're agreeing, Darko.
Oh,
110%.
it's
I
not good
think.
for our show. We need a discussion and conflict. Oh, so you have to say no, and I have to argue yes. But the topic
But
is
this is a no-brainer. I don't see any other way forward for the humankind.
same with me. Same with me. Mitul, thank you very much for this short, sharp, and not that short as we wanted to have a session, but next time maybe. thank you to our audience. Thank you very much. Talk to you next week. I don't know what topic will be next week. I hope we will decide on Monday, because I'm sure something will pop up and we will use that as a topic for our show. So let's see you next week again. Let's talk to you another Thursday again. This will be like this, but that's life. Thank you very much, Mitul. See you.
Have an awesome week. Thank you, Darko. Bye bye.